to me, execution day actually is tying in strategy, people, and cash, because this is where you actually put it all together and start to make it tactical. And so the thing I'm going to challenge them with, which will actually be, well, I actually have to do a couple of things in this process, but it's actually one thing. The one thing I want them to do, commit to a number. What is a number that you're going to commit to track weekly over the next 90 days, and communicate it to the team that is your best measure of progress and success for the business. Hi, I'm Greg Crabtree. I'm the partner for Simple Numbers CRI based in Huntsville, Alabama. We have a consulting practice that works all over the world, teaching business owners how to run profitable wealth building companies. This quarter with the Accelerator program, we're covering Execution Day, which will tell you how to take your meeting rhythms to the next level to communicate the right numbers at the right time to the right people.
To all my friends, welcome to this episode. It's going to be incredible. We're going to talk about a few of the numbers you need to look at in your business, meeting rhythms. We've got Grabe here for the next couple minutes. Watch this video before you come to that event, or watch it afterward as a recap of what we're doing. Let's dive on into the episode.
Now, to do that, you've got to think through, what is that number? Where does the data come from? Can I trust the number? Do I know? Can I talk about it reliably in that? And then from the standpoint of, some businesses might be able to talk about it daily in their daily huddle, but at least you've got to have it in that once a week rhythm of communication to the team, preferably in one of the rhythm meetings that we'll talk about. And monitor. First, you're going to gauge towards a month's worth of success. Then you're going to gauge towards 2 months worth of continual movement and progress. And then ultimately the quarter of success is going to come from focusing on this one number that's going to lead you to that success.
Let's break it down for everybody who's watching right now. Let's use an example of, let's say, a restaurant, because we all have been to a restaurant. COVID made them way more popular. What is your rough idea, Greg? What's an example of that one metric a restaurant might look at, so we can all, and then I want to talk about the rhythm meetings as well.
Just happened to pick the last discussion that I just got off the phone with. This is the universe lining up. My favorite metric for restaurants, and this comes from Outback, and Outback is one of the greatest public restaurant operators in the country. I got the opportunity to hear their CEO talk back in 1998, and he shared a lot of the concepts. They're an open book company. They were actually speaking at the Great Game of Conferences for Great Game of Business. And one of the key things, the number that I like the best that they do, is gross margin per customer. And so the idea is, for every customer interaction, what is the gross margin on a per ticket basis by customer? But I want to know it by server, because what Outback would do is they run it like a sports team. The best servers who have the highest gross margin per ticket get the pick of their schedule. And then you work down the food chain from there.
And you're creating a leaderboard, which we all love. Just like a sports team, is your team winning, and then the reward is you get more freedom and more awesomeness, and you're also pushing those high performers into the highest performing, most desirable areas. They probably want those Friday nights where they're making the most money. So I love how you're
absolutely.
So let me see if I reiterate this correctly. You want all of us, before we see you next, or anybody watching this right now, think about we want to tie in the strategy day, the people day, and the cash day. And we want to commit to a number that we track weekly over 90 days.
Right.
Can you give us a few examples of those numbers in different industries so people could go, okay, I see mine?
Yeah. So there, and if you look at a business like, let's say, a marketing company. So we have there's probably several marketing firms. So the idea is, what you're trying to do is look at, say, projects that get completed. And so sometimes people will do a contract with a customer that is spread over time. You got to break it down into its components and say, we've got to get things across the finish line. And so we've got to take businesses that used to operate for a month and then suddenly look back to see if we're successful, and say, we got to shrink that time frame. So I've got to identify a common task that get knocked out and things that I know that got to completion. I may not have, they may be part of a broader billing, but I've got to get to a task completion metric on those service-based businesses. Now, if you've got an activity-based business, one of my clients was a van conversion business, and it was funny because they would actually get all these highfalutin engineers to come in and teach them about lean processing, and they would change things up, and then all of a sudden they start losing money. And then every time they would learn some stuff from those things, it was worthless, but it wasn't the most profitable way of doing it. And every time they would bring order back into the business, he just got down to a simple vans in, vans out. And it's like, hey, we got this number of vans in. So that's telling you I've got orders. I got things I've got to get started. But also I've got to get vans out. And so what is that vans in, vans out thing for your business, regardless of whatever it is you do? And so in the world of agile development for software programmers that might be in the group, the software programmers understand agile. So agile talks about you put stories on the board. So that's taking a bigger project and breaking it down into its components. And so those are stories on the board. When I complete those are stories off the board. And so if you're one of those types of businesses, you've got to develop a measurement process of saying, all right, team, what are the stories on the board for this week? And every day in your daily huddle, did I get stories off the board? And that will tell you that you start to gain some momentum about getting things to completion. One of the things that execution failure is at an all-time high right now is we're letting everything rush into the queue, but nothing's going out the door and finishing. Or it's dribbling coming out, and there's this collision of everything coming in. We've got to get better to create a more even flow of what the same amount of what's coming in has to be the same amount of what's going out, on a weekly basis.
Yeah, for backflow. I love this. This is the homework assignment to all my friends. EOA, you come with an idea of what are that one number. You might have a backup number. And as Greg has said, vans in, vans out, I think we're going to use that one. It could be a backup number. How many vans in do we have? And then let's make sure every van that the vans in also leave. We finish it, we get paid. Okay, I think everybody understands that.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to speak for just a moment on something I've personally implemented in my business, my amazing team, rhythm meetings. Describe that. I want everybody to come to the table. The homework is, what's your number? And then how are we going to review that in a rhythm meeting? Can you bring us up to speed on what a rhythm meeting is?
Yeah. So a rhythm meeting is typically, just think of it from starting at the shortest time frame to the longest. So you've got daily huddles. That's the shortest. So either, for EOA, it's probably going to be the whole team. As you get bigger, it might be too big for everybody to meet together, so you might break it up. But you have to be diligent to do these even with remote staff. And so, hey, you can attend it via remote. I see companies do it all the time with people both physically and remote. And you just commit to bringing them up on Zoom if they're there virtually. So it's weekly first. And then think of one day a week, that month, that the daily one turns into then the weekly meeting. So there's other things that I'm going to cover in my weekly that takes over the daily. And then of my weeks, the last week of the month is going to be, that weekly is going to turn into the monthly meeting. And then of the monthly meetings, the last month, so 2 of the 3 monthly meetings every quarter is going to be quarterly meeting with a few additional things. And so the idea is, what I got to make the daily quick. Now 5-10 minutes top. If I'm spending more than 10 minutes, learn the art of parking lot. You got to put things in the car park to move on to the next thing, and don't let somebody dominate the discussion. Same thing in the weekly meeting. I'm going to have a little longer for the weekly, but what are the unique things that add to it? What are the unique things that add to the monthly? What are the unique things that add to the quarterly? And then we'll discuss all of those in the sessions for the learning day. But I think the people who are continuously, successful, one, you don't miss meetings. So that's one way to make them successful. You don't blow them off because you're busy. And then the other is you refine what are the actionable data sets and actions that come out of each meeting that people need to go work on. And if those things aren't working, that's where you come back to the group and say, how do you spice it up? Who is it? Somebody in the room, learn from those people who are successful. How do you keep those meetings alive and moving? For us, for me, my meetings became more successful when I didn't try to lead them. I always found that there was somebody else who was better at leading that meeting than me. But I was a good participator, but I had to be careful not to dominate the meeting. So I learned to actually say less rather than say more during the meeting. And sometimes as a leader, you got to step back and let the team, run it. And you have to be very judicious in the comments and the things that you make if you're going to let them own it.
And that's my biggest fault, I got to tell you right now. And that's probably something I think everybody in the room is as we grow. And you said something really powerful at the previous time that you came to Los Angeles or Orange County. You're not a dentist, you're an entrepreneur that owns a dental practice. You're not a
Right.
CPA, you're an entrepreneur that owns a CPA firm that has to help support people, lead them,
Right.
work on the business more than you work in the business if you can eventually.
Yep.
Which I thought was brilliant. And what you're also saying is let the team lead the team in these meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just think of yourself as you're the owner. The owner of an NFL team is not on the sideline calling plays. Why do you think you need to be there? I mean, you got a coach for a reason. You got assistant coaches for a reason. You got a quarterback on the field for a reason. That's not you. That's them.
I think that's amazing. But all of you, we look forward to seeing you at the EOA event where Greg Crabtree is our amazing speaker. We got a lot going on. Make sure you show up on time. If you're watching this after the event, you can join one of those amazing things. If you're wondering what EOA is, Entrepreneur Organization Accelerator, such a great program. You can look into some more. We'll see all of you very soon. Thanks so much for joining us today.